Welcome to Super Woo Radio, where we are awakening into being free and sovereign. It's a place where minds hurt and hearts sing as we break through the barriers that have been holding us back. Be prepared to have belief systems confronted as we take the journey of the truth seeker for answers to life's biggest questions. Remember, truth is stranger than fiction, so come along for an awareness-expanding experience with George and his amazing guest. Here on Super Woo Radio.
Hello and welcome, magnificent Earth humans, and all you other wonderful beings throughout the universe, listening to our multidimensional broadcast here on Super Woo Radio, episode number 35. Ole Dammegard was born in Copenhagen, Denmark, 1958. He's an award-winning artist, author, and investigative journalist. In 1966, he moved to Sweden and became a founding member of a rock band, Forska Duga. From 1975 to 84, Ole worked as a journalist and in 1984 trekked on a bicycle through Europe heading for South Africa, and instead of turning right, he turned left, ending up in Iran, and helped smuggle out an Iranian friend via Russia and East Germany to Sweden, which is depicted in his book, Shadow of Tears. In 1988, Ole began private research into the assassinations of John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and Robert Kennedy. In 1990, he started digging into the assassination of Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme, and as a result, in 2000, he completed his book Coup d'etat in slow motion. In 2013, Ole was interviewed on Red Ice Radio in a mammoth four-part series detailing the assassination of Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme, and has appeared as a guest speaker on a plethora of international alternative radio programs. Recently, Ole was also invited as a keynote speaker to a rally outside the 2014 Bilderberg meeting. So it is with great pleasure to once again welcome back to Super Woo Radio, Ole Dammegard. Ole Dammegard, welcome to Super Woo Radio.
Thank you so much, George. It's an absolute honor and pleasure.
Shall I say, Ole, welcome back to Super Woo Radio?
You may indeed, George.
It's great to have you back on. I've really looked forward to speaking with you once again. And I looked back and I've got to tell you, I'm amazed at how long ago it was. We're talking back in August of 2013. That's well over a year ago already.
It feels longer than that in my life. It feels like so much has happened in this short time span.
Well, Ole, I am so happy to have you on, and I would really love to discuss the geopolitical scene, because I personally consider you one of the premier or commentators and researchers in the world of the very real conspiratorial issues that have taken place. And recently you've had some major, I would say, success in certain projects that you've been involved with. So let's start there. Let's start on what's happened recently of late, because that is a major success in the work that you've been doing.
Okay. Yeah, it was about 6 months ago. I and Jim Fetzer, Professor Jim Fetzer from the US, uh, he was contacted by a witness. Her name is Haley Otis, and this is a woman in her late 60s who grew up with two people, actually three people. It was her brother and two of his friends that she claimed was two of the modern times worst serial killers ever, that have been used since the mid 1950s when they were kids and all the way up until now when they're quite old men as cleanup guys, the people you call in to sort out problems, meaning in this world to kill them, to exterminate them, to eradicate whoever they have problems with. And these people I'm talking about is his name is Clyde Forshaw, one of them in Toronto, and his cousin Walter Tubinsky. And Haley Otis' brother his name was Roland Otis. I believe he's dead now. But these people have been, according to her incredibly detailed testimony that we've got like 100 hours recorded, have been very, very central in the JFK assassination, the Robert Kennedy assassination, the Martin Luther King assassination. Not sure about the Robert Kennedy, sorry about that, but Martin Luther King and John Lennon and John as well, and many, many, many more. According to Haley, there's about 1,000 people each, at least, that they have killed, these two people, Clyde Forshaw and Walt Sabinski. And she was calling in more or less secretly to Jim Fetzer, giving him all this information. But then she was in constant fear of her life, and we on several occasions thought that she had been killed. And so we came to a point, what are we going to do? How are we going to be able to protect her? How can we protect this old woman? I mean, a lonely old woman who's so incredibly brave to stand up against this, because these people have been used by the government in Canada, the government in the US, the CIA and the mob, big time. And she has been in contact with the different police authorities in Toronto and many different places. And so has Jim Fetzer, who contacted the FBI, the Royal Canadian Police, all of these people. And the only thing that has happened is that they have informed Clyde Forshaw and Walt Sabinski about what Haley is up to. So she's been living in absolute lethal danger for such a long time. She's been shot at. They tried to knock her over with cars and all kinds of awful things. So what we decided to do was the only way forward, because there was also a major death threat to Jim Fetzer and indirectly towards me. So I thought the best thing is to go totally open with this information, but pump it out as forcefully as possible. So we waited until I had 3 major interviews lined up on the same day. It was Red Eyes Creations. It was the Kevin Barrett and Jim Fetzer show, and also we got it on the Ed Opperman show, a 3-hour special that was sent out. I don't know how many websites and other different areas were promoting this, and we were just pumping this information out there. So exposing these two people and saying if something, even if it's just a minor thing happens to Haley Otis or Jim Fetzer or myself, it would be directly connected to these people, and thank God, since as far as I know, Haley is still around, Jim is still around, I'm still around, and hopefully by exposing them in a totally non-violent way, but still major exposure, I hope we have neutralized them as not being able to continue their profession.
Wow, that's just amazing. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to do what you have done. And
it was a scary one. I felt, oof, it is hard-hitting forces we're up against, so that type of thing is very scary.
Yeah, well, I take my hat off to you, mate. Really quite inspired by the incredible courage it takes. Well, I was watching a video of you outside the Bilderberg meeting, or well, the supposed location of the Bilderberg meeting. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Because that was quite an interesting scenario that took place there, because it seems that you have averted something quite major and catastrophic, which would have put even the work I do in jeopardy.
I humbly believe so. This is not to polish my own halo or push my own ego. It is just that I've spent more than 30 years looking into false flag operations, the major assassinations and different so-called terror acts all over the world. And I found that it's, as far as I've been able to track down with my very deep research, it's the same small little group that is behind the so-called New World Order, that is also behind so many of these atrocities. And they even use the same team of assassins to a major extent. So at the late May this year, 2014, I was invited as one of the key speakers to the Bilderberg meeting, or outside where the Bilderberg meeting is supposed to have been held in Copenhagen. And this was as a key speaker outside the meeting, not at the meeting, because the meeting itself is highly secured and with loads of the police protection outside, military presence, all of these type of things. So I and Luke Radowski from We Are Change, Dan Dix from Canada, and the Professor Nils Harrit, who's a renowned 9/11 expert, was invited as speakers to this gathering outside the hotel. And so I flew in the day before, just to have a little time to check out the situation, how the streets, the buildings, everything, just to see what was going to go down there. And like I say, I arrived about 12 hours before the first members were supposed to arrive. And this was, it was actually 2013, that was the first year when the Bilderberg group could not hide their existence anymore. They were created in 1954, but for 60 years they've been sort of hiding in the shadows, more or less being able to get away with even existing, like I said. And they've always been claiming just to be a very nice bunch of, just a gathering, a think tank, you know, where they could meet in private and discuss golf and tennis and have a nice cup of tea and so on. Nothing more sinister than that. I totally disagree. I mean, when you look at their agenda, in my book, Coup d'etat in Slow Motion, the last 200 pages, it's almost 1,100 pages, the last 200 pages are just membership list of this group, the secret locations every year, and the agenda that has leaked out from all of these meetings. And if you compare this to what happened in the world the following year after each meeting, you will see that it's uncanny. The parallels are just unreal. So I would strongly suggest that this group is part of a world shadow government that are pulling the strings in an incredible way that most of us has absolutely no idea about. And this is why I feel so strongly about exposing them, and that I have dedicated so many years on doing it as well.
Well, they're no ordinary think tank. You know, they're more like a think tank for implementing the New World Order agenda.
I would call them a terrorist group. You know, a terrorist cell. Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? I think that's a more accurate description of who and what they are. I agree. They don't have humanity's best interests at heart. They only have the interests of the few that want to rule the world at heart.
So, and what is a terrorist? That is, in my opinion, somebody who wants to harm the population of a country with violent means to promote their political status. And that is exactly what they do. Even though they look really nice on TV and they are people that you have sort of elected, at least I would call they were selected before elected. And so many of these people are with at least a double loyalty. You think they're loyal to you, I beg to differ. They have a hidden agenda, and they've sworn loyalty to a totally different group, with a totally very dark and sinister agenda. So this is why the light should be spot on, aimed at them. Because it's only because they've been able to hide that they've been able to get away with it for such a long time. And I just want to point out that false flag operations is a major tool of theirs. They've been using it forever and ever, and they keep using it. And in 2013, they were just about to meet in Watford, just outside London. It was exposed that that was the meeting. So when they could not any longer hide their existence, they changed the approach. They totally changed, turned it around, and they said, no, of course, we're such a nice group of Santa Claus guys, you know, white haired, and like, we have nothing to hide. You are so welcome to come and join us. So what they did was they had a fenced-in corral, like a kilometer away from the hotel, where the media and the truth movement and so on could gather, totally locked in, secured by police, body search, everything. And that was the way that the rest of the world could join into this meeting. You could see the building, that was about it, way down the road, but absolute no entry, no openness, no nothing. And also, just before, a few days before this happened, when the whole media of the world was like, oh my God, can this be, do they really exist? My God, we need to go there and check it out. So while they were packing the bags, you know, to go to London to have a look, boom, that's when the so-called beheading in Woolwich happened. Do you remember that? Two black guys that are said to have chopped the head of an English soldier.
Supposedly.
Oh, I love it. That one is one of the absolute best. It is so sloppily done, so badly done. And I often give like 2-hour interviews just going into details so that people can make up their own mind, because it's so obvious once you start seeing how it was carried out in such a bad way, such an amateurish way, that it was a total false flag. Nobody got killed. It was just a film staged event. Awful, so badly done. But what happened was that the whole media attention was turned away from the Bilderberg meeting towards the Woolwich beheading. And it was the Muslims that blamed on an innocent minority. It was them, you know. And then you had the whole thing with riots, you know. I guarantee you with provocateurs, you know, and all of these things they painted with blood on the mosques, you know, and all of these. Oh, God, again and again, the same story again and again. But they were very efficient in doing that. So in 2014, sorry, did you want to ask something?
I just wanted to say they really, really are good at creating these distractions, aren't they, to take the focus and attention away. It happens so often. We're just, you know, getting to the real, you know, crux of something, and then boom, they'll create a war, or they create some sort of incident and distraction to really just arrest people's awareness.
I wouldn't say that they're that good at it. I would say that we are incredibly gullible, incredibly asleep, and incredibly easy to manipulate. And I think it's time for us to stop this. You know, we are so responsible for this, because when you look at it, and like I'm 30 years down the road, I cannot believe how sick we are. You know, how have we been able to let these people get away with the same trick, because they're pulling the same stunt again and again and again and again for so many years. It's unreal. And I think there's absolutely there's no excuse anymore, because every day that we're still asleep, that we still are more caring about our own finances and how am I going to get by today, not caring about the rest of the world. We are so responsible for these innocent people and countries being bombed the crap out, people being jailed, totally innocent, people being shot in the street by military hooligans or police hooligans and so on. It is not okay. We need to wake up. We need to stop this, And the way to do it is point the light at them, show that we are aware of what they're doing, So my intention is, with all these false flag operations, I want to turn the trend around. Up until now, it's been that after something like the Boston bombing or Sandy Hook or whatever of these, the same, when these are pulled up, it's afterwards. We see it once it's happened and we start looking into it to find evidence for what actually happened.
Can I just interject there? Was it really the same sheriff, was it?
There was, as far as I remember, the same sheriff in 3 different states. I mean, he even had the same name and the same hat. I mean, come on. It's like, so that's what I'm saying. It's not that this is something for very intelligent people,
Yeah.
Many of these things are no-brainers, absolute no-brainers.
Well, from Australia, there was this band called Midnight Oil, and I had a song called Short Memory. Oh, we must have a short memory. And I really recommend people to look at the lyrics of that song, even if you don't like the style of music. Please read the lyrics, because here in Australia we have an election campaign every 4 years, and I've lived through quite a few of them now, and it's incredible how it's the same old types of people saying the same old things, making the same old promises, and not much has changed, and we just seem to be going in a particular direction, election cycle after election cycle. And I just look back at it all and think, this is so absurd. And you're right, they're not very clever the way they go about it, because there's really nothing new going on. They're just using the same old tactics over and over again, and the masses just keep falling for it.
Beats me, absolutely beats me. But the meaning of the word government? It means control the mind.
Control the mind, control. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like you elect people for the mind control, okay? And then you're surprised, why am I controlled? Why is nothing happening? Because you're being set up. They even put it right in front of you, It's called TV programs. Why is it called programs? Because it's programming you. Why is it called mind control, the government? Because it's controlling your mind. Surprise, surprise, I believe not. And no, it's there's a beautiful film called Wag the Dog. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen the film, but I love the idea and the concept of it. I actually use that expression on a regular basis myself.
I tell you, watch the film. It's not a brilliant film, but it's a really interesting concept, because you got Robert De Niro. He's the man. Like, the whole thing is set up like it's almost like Bill Clinton when he officially not had sex with Monica Lewinsky, which he had, and they needed to cover it up because also that would have taken them into the whole Iran-Contras and the whole cocaine epidemic and so on. So they needed to divert the attention. We're back to diversion, okay? So in the film, they call in Robert De Niro. He's sort of the major problem solver. So he said, my God, we need to get the attention away from this. So he goes to Hollywood, gets hold of Dustin Hoffman, who's an eccentric filmmaker. And what the two of them come up with is they create a war against a country that does not even exist. It does not, it's not far from the truth, I tell you. So they get the whole American people involved in this war against a country that does not even exist, to divert the attention away. And then while the attention is pointed to the right, they get away with cleaning up everything, clean it up. Okay, finally. And then Bill Clinton came forward and said, Well, I'm very sorry. I had, she gave me a blowjob. Okay, big deal. So we're back. But in the meantime, while the whole attention has been diverted, they have had time to do loads and loads. So I would say every time there's one of these things that might be a diversion, check out to the right, the left, the up, the down, check out what's going on where they don't want you to look.
Exactly. Look in
And
the opposite direction where they're pointing you to look.
It's like looking at a magician. He's pulling off a trick. You're like, oh my God, that's pure magic, You're looking at his left hand and you're not noticing that he's doing the whole thing behind his back with his right hand. As soon as you see, oh my God, look at it, it's the right hand that's doing it, you won't fall for it anymore. You won't buy into it. So this is one of the reasons why I'm really trying to expose the templates they're using, the methods they're using, so that the next time there's a so-called mad person doing a mass shooting or a so-called terrorist group blowing up a bomb somewhere, or if there's an upside down, blow me up green monkey virus that has come out, oh my God, now we need to pump up the epidemic level to 6 and pump you full with absolute lethal vaccines. I would say check out the template and be aware of what's going on, because they're getting very desperate, I would say, this group.
They are, aren't they? Because there's another, I feel, well, I call it the 3 layers of imposition. I'm not sure if you've heard me discuss this. I've got what's called the 3 layers of imposition. And we've got 3 layers of cosmic control on this planet. And I will just take a little bit cosmic now, just for a moment, because that's I do.
Please do.
And so the first layer, layer 1, is the one that we currently have, the layer of control of we've had it on the planet for a few thousand years. It's the control of what we call the ruling elite. It's a group of families. It's actually 6 of them, to be honest, and I've met them personally. 6, I called them previously the 6 Lords of Darkness. There is 6 ruling families that rule the rest of the wealthy families on the planet. And that's the 6-pointed star. That's where it originates from, and they're overlord. And it is really quite... the detail is why I've met them. I've talked about this many times before. It had to do with me having to have a meeting with them because I'm involved in the cosmopolitical agenda that's taking place and the way it's being imposed on this planet. That's why I had to have a meeting with these entities. It's a good way of putting them. Now you can meet them in human form if you like, but they're not really that much anymore. They spend only some of their time in human form, and this control system on the planet currently has been around for a long time. That's layer 1. They're the ones that are forcing us to use archaic technology and the burning of what people call fossil fuels and so forth. The current banking system, the current financial structures, the current pharmaceutical structures, the geoengineering, the food engineering that's taking place, and a faction of that group has the agenda of culling a lot of the human population so they can start over. So they've got their own, you can call it micro climate, cosmic climate of cultural philosophies and political agendas and what have you. Now, layer 2 is a level of, you could call it cosmic societal structure or civilizational structure, which is run by artificial intelligence. And that is the layer that's imposing itself on the planet in a very strong way at the moment. And it has somewhat teamed up with layer 1, except for the fact that eventually it's going to eliminate layer 1. So layer 2 is this really interesting assimilation of the human race into artificial intelligence. And people really aren't aware just how much they've already been assimilated into that. AI already controls so much of our lives. I mean, Ole, you try putting fuel in your car without an artificial intelligence machine giving you permission to do it. You try getting food out of what we call a supermarket or a grocery store without an AI machine giving the human operator the permission to allow you to walk out of the store with those goods. What about you getting access to your own funds, your own money, your financial wealth? You do not have access to that without artificial intelligence granting you permission to do so. So already we have been assimilated into the world of artificial intelligence. The elimination of layer one is just a matter of course. So it's already well in progress, and it really comes down to the overlords of the off-world and interdimensional overlords of these 6 planetary lords that rule the planet. Their overlords are going to eliminate all the middle management. So all like the so-called underground bases and things like that, a lot of those people are just going to go into their demise, because that's all middle management, which is surplus to requirements. And so layer 2 will move in because layer 1 is now surplus to requirements. But behind layer 2 is layer 3. Now that's an interesting one, because that brings into the equation harvest, and it also brings into the equation the entity known as God. So we have the God virus and we have harvest time in layer 3, because this entity called God is what's controlling layer 2, because it's teamed up with a negative and malefic artificial intelligence, and the layer 3 is controlling both layer 2 and layer 1, and layer 2 is controlling layer 1. So we have this interesting 3 layers of imposition taking place. So I just thought I'd give you the brief summary of that. I can go into more detail, but I want to hear more of what you have to say.
Oh, thanks a million for sharing, because this is areas where I leave to people like you who are so much more knowledgeable about this. I'm more on a street level trying to do my shuffling the dirt down here on Mother Earth.
Well, I haven't got a clue what's going on the street level. That's why I need to talk to somebody like you, and that's why we complement each other so beautifully, you know?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
I'd really like to get into the latest news that's hitting the waves at the moment. I'm hearing a lot of, because I don't watch television, but I'm hearing a lot of stuff, people talking about Ebola and the latest boogeyman, and, you know, so what can you share about that?
If you've been down the road for 30 years, you will just see the same pattern repeating again and again and again and again. And one of the things the CIA have been using since the late 50s or early 50s is what they call the strategy of tension. They want to inflict fear into modern society, scare the crap out of people.
Okay, so now I'm going to pull you up right there, right? Because you just said something very significant. You said the strategy of tension. Now, you know, you talk to just about anybody in this world today, and the overwhelming majority of people we communicate with are loaded with this tension in their bodies, in their emotional fields, in their mental fields. And I have to say that equation is working quite well for them.
It is. It's done. They've done it.
Yeah, not for the people, you know, on the receiving end of this strategy of tension, but the people who are implementing this strategy of tension.
Totally. I mean, they want us to be totally fearful, you know, shivering out of fear, totally running around like a chicken without a head, you know, totally controlled by terror. That's the way they want, and they're doing it to a major extent through this black box in front of us that somebody like yourself and myself had turned off a long time ago.
Because I didn't want to be controlled by the monolith, which is the message in Space Odyssey. If people understand what the black monolith is, just have a look at their television or their cell phones, their smartphones.
I stay away from these things, a long way from these things, as far as I can. At the same time, it's important to be informed, but informed as much as possible about what's really going on, not what they're trying to push down our throats. So when it comes to this latest Ebola, now it's like, ooh, the Ebola, now it came from absolute nowhere. And now they're pumping in new viruses all over the place. saying, "My God, you need to be in such fear." And one of the things they use is a very old Roman tactic called problem, reaction, solution. Problem, reaction, solution. They secretly create a problem to create a reaction, and the reaction they always want is to us to scream out of fear, "Oh my God, something needs to be done, help me, help me, help me." And then we will turn towards the people that we have selected in our government, mind control, to help us and say, "Please, please do something." And then they will offer us the solution. And this solution would never have been accepted had it not been for this problem that we secretly created. So this problem is very often, it can be an awful, awful disease or a bomb or a mass shooting or something like that to get the emotional reaction. They want an emotional reaction, so we don't use the brain. We should just go into absolute fear mode and accept their solution. And the solution is always the same. It is more and more controlled power, give away our civil rights, let us be controlled more and more by militarized police. And it's just they're trying to push us into this very, very dark and scary future where they want a lot of us to have passed on. They want to eliminate a major part of us. And I do not believe that is right. It's not up to them to decide, to play God and decide who's going to be here, who's not going to be here. So I very much would encourage people to look into these things properly before they get freaked out. And the latest...
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, the latest one is the Ebola. And there's a very good documentary made years ago, about 10 years ago, by a man that I very much respect. His name is Leonard Horowitz, Dr. Leonard Horowitz. And the documentary is called "In Lies We Trust." I think it's a very good title. "In Lies We Trust." You can find it on YouTube and so on. And in that, he tracks down both AIDS and Ebola and shows very clearly how it was created in laboratories. He even managed to get documents proving the funding. I mean, they were given $10 million to develop these viruses as biological terror tools, biological war weapons of mass destructions. That is what they are. And a person like Dr. Robert Gallo, I wouldn't call him doctor, I would call him like maybe Monster Robert Gallo or something like that, he's the one who is accredited having discovered AIDS. He was actually the one who developed AIDS, and Leonard Horowitz has, in this documentary, you will see him confront Robert Gallo with these things. You will see all of these things. So this is the Ebola is an old one. A few years ago, they tried the swine flu. I mean, I don't know about you, but did you see heaps of dead people if you looked outside the window? I think not.
No.
And I think no one that is listening to this program globally saw heaps of dead people lying in the streets, dying in the swine flu.
You would have thought so. You would have thought so listening to the media reports, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And even so, the pandemic level was up to 6. That is an incredibly high level. Where were the victims? Swine flu is just like a bit of a serious flu. That was it, And but what they want to is scare you to go towards the solution. And in this case, I would say every single time with these plagues and awful diseases, what they want you to is to take the vaccine. Take the vaccine. That is where their solution is. And this is absolutely awful stuff.
My question to you,
system.
Yeah, my question to you, Ole, is what is in the vaccine, do you think, or do you know about? Why do they want us to take that vaccine to begin with?
I'm very sorry to be the bringer of bad news. They want to kill us off in a major part. And in these vaccines are different. I'm not an in this area. I'm just being informed by other people. Are so many things that are causing your immune system major problems. You got mercury that it just mashes the whole immune system up. The thing is, your immune system is this magnificent, divine, I don't know, mechanism. It's just a work of absolute beauty. This immune system, if you keep it okay, it can handle anything. I would say more or less anything. But so the thing is, most of us are so acidic in our body environment. It's just like a swimming pool. And when you go too acidic by too much sugar and all of this food, pre-made food and beer, and I mean all of these things, it's like almost like drinking battery acid, for your poor body. And when the body environment goes too acidic, then the different organs cannot send the signals to the cells and so on, because they're sending small electrical signals through the body fluid. We consist to such a major extent, much more than the 70% most people think we are. We're much water. And if the pH value is not okay, just like in a pool that turns green, in a pool that are gone green, you will see all this funguses start growing and it starts becoming very acidic. It will eat away the color, the paint of the inside of the swimming pool and stuff like that, because it's too acidic. As soon as you get the pH balance up to where it's supposed to be, boom, absolute miracles happen. And it's just like putting boxing gloves on the immune system, say, come on, Mike Tyson, I can take anyone, whatever you give me, I will sort it out. So the immune system is, get that working and you will heal yourself. So
I agree with that. I work on my immune system on a regular basis, and I feel so much better for it.
So do I. This is day 22 of a juice fast for me, where just green, vegetables. It's like you need to get away from the acidic things, and that is most of the things you would like. I'm sorry to say, all the sweet stuff, all of that. The closer you get to nature, and the closer you get to things being raw. I'm not talking about meat now, but raw vegetables, the more alkaline they will be, and the more they will help you push up the pH balance. So check it out. Go get pH strips. You can pee on one and put one under your tongue, preferably not the same, and then. But it's not. You need to. There's special tables showing what the pH level has to be, because it's not 7.3 or something that most people think. It's different in the morning and for your pee and your saliva and so on. So you need to get the proper numbers to check it out, and then work on getting your pH balance up, and you will cure it. I tell you. I think it was in 1931, there was a German scientist that received the Nobel Peace Prize in medicine, because he showed that cancer can only grow in acidic environment. And it's the same with funguses and all of these type of things. So many diseases are because it's too acidic. It's sort of like if you can imagine, if you take a glass of battery acid and you swallow it, it will go down. And wherever whatever organ or that where there's a weakness, or inside your veins or something like that, wherever there's a weakness, it will start attacking, and your body will just freak out and say, oh my God, and it will start putting chalk on the inside of the veins and on the joints and everything to protect itself from the acid attack, And this is why you will see arthritis. And in my humble opinion, I'm not a medical expert, but this is the way I've been informed and I understand it. Inside your veins, inside your heart, all this lime and chalk, just where trying to defend itself. But if you get the pH balance up where it's supposed to be, then I need to reverse when the organs cannot communicate with the rest, and all this whole communication going on in your body Too acidic, the communication system starts shutting down, and the organs start shutting down one by one. And so you are in a major hazard of getting very serious diseases in that case. But by getting the pH balance back, so the organs and the brain and the cells can communicate, and with the immune system combined, then boom, it just starts. It's like firing up a factory again. Boom, 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 boom. Well, we're back in the saddle. Come on, let's go and sort this thing out. And you will heal yourself. You will see miraculous things happening just by getting the pH balance back. So in my very simple way of seeing things, I have no idea, but this is the way I've understood it, is instead of focusing on all the different names of the diseases, get your immune system in order and leave the rest to that one. And this is where the vaccines are so dangerous, because they pass all of these different walls that the body has, like the skin and different layers of protection. When you stick a needle, you just bypass all of these things and inject these awful things like mercury, like things from fetuses. Is that what you call it? Dead fetuses? Yep. This is many of the autoimmune system reactions and so on. It's because there's a foreign human cell inside the body, and the body would just like start to fight itself, to get rid of it. But it's been injected into you. And I would also recommend people, if you have to go to surgery, if you're gonna have to do anything like that where there's a blood transfusion, first give your own blood, and then see to it that you will get your own blood back while having the operation. Because sometimes when you get these blood transfusions, you think that, oh, I'm just type A, B, or whatever, and so if I get the exact same blood, I'm fine. You are in one way, but at the same time, whatever that person was given, if he'd had like 26 shots of whatever, that is what you will get into your system, and that is why many people after having surgery will have strange symptoms going on, and they can have mood swings and all types of very odd things going on. It's because of the blood transfusion. So do yourself a favor, especially if you're in good health, give your own blood, make sure you get it back.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
So there's many ways of informing yourself. And now this thing with Ebola, it's like I was just waiting because when it comes to the Bilderberg meeting, you will see that they are normally, if not always, around the end of May, 1st of June. That's when they have these secret meetings. And then it's like they need 2-3 months for preparation. And then around September, October, that's when they hit it. That's when they go for whatever they agreed upon. And this year in 2014, there was a mayor for the first time in 60 years, as far as I know, a low-key mayor that was invited. Well, where did he come from? He came from Atlanta, Kasim Nasir. And there was also a small group of biotechnical experts that was invited. Why? Never ever had that happened before, as far as I know. But these people who are strongly connected to this type of event was invited in at the meeting. The cases of Ebola before the meeting were a handful. The cases about 60 days after the meeting were like in the thousands. Where was the epicenter of the Ebola? In Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah.
And where is the CDC? That's the Center for Disease Control. Where is that located? In Atlanta. Okay. Who you check out the patents, because they even got patents for these viruses. I mean, it's unreal. Where are these patents? One of the patents is connected to the CDC in Atlanta. Go figure. And then you check it out, Atlanta, the CDC, and you will see that it's a CIA front company. Okay? CIA front company. What does that tell you? Then you look into the whole hype, Please look at this as if you had hired a marketing agency for a new product. What would they do? Well, we have this new cereal and we need to make an impact in the world. So how are we gonna do that? We need some good commercials, okay? And the good commercial, we need a tune. No, we can't go music with this one. A logo, no, too obvious. What are we gonna do? Colors. We can do colors because that is very efficient as well when you do trademarking and so on. So for this one, the Ebola 2014, I would like to present you with the colors of this. And it's bright yellow, dark skin. It's always on dark people, and a fluorescent green. These colors. Look at the different film editing, whatever it is about Ebola. You will have yellow, strong yellow, fluorescent green, and somebody with a dark skin in the background.
Wow.
The dark skin is because it's connected to. It's not supposed to come from Atlanta. It's diversion. It's from Africa. Whoa! And in Africa, that's where the plague is. That's where they have no doctors. That's where there are no civilization. This is not what I'm saying. This is what they're trying to push on us. Yeah. So the will be that the scare is there, and they always located in a country where very few people have relatives or they know people. So it's a country far away, like Sierra Leone or Ghana or somewhere where it's hard to check out. And if you go to Sierra Leone, I'm sure they will say in Sierra Leone that the whole thing is in Panama. And in Panama, they will say it's in Antarctica and so on, So it's far away, so you cannot control the level of truth involved.
Yeah, and well, I've been looking into this a little bit, the Ebola, not much, just a little bit. And the way they're actually dealing with the cases, like let's say, for example, they bring somebody in on an ambulance and then they have them sitting, they bring them through the hospital emergency section without any protection around the person. It's just like if you look at the actual techniques and the actual way they're handling the cases, there's a lot of people in the film footage that are not actually sticking to the actual protocols of how it should be done. If you speak to somebody who's been trained in the medical field, because they're movie props, right? The way they're going about it.
Yeah, or military people. This is the whole thing. I rest my case. You have a look. I'll go into some details about this, and you will just see exactly what you're saying. If this was for real, this Ebola virus would be feared by the people handling it. My God, this is a very, very, very scary disease. And I'm not saying that Ebola does not exist. It does exist. But I believe that the people who are now creating this whole scare hype, they're very aware of that it can get out of control. So they need to inflict it on a very controlled population that they can control. This is why I think that they're trying to push people into the FEMA camps, especially in the States, inviting them with a free shot in there. You can get the free vaccine in your local FEMA camp, and you can even get a drink at the same time in the bar while waiting, and we will take care of your children. Don't worry about that. The playground is totally fenced in with barbed wire and guarded by soldiers. Don't worry about that. Come to the FEMA camps.
Get used to your new habitat.
Yeah, and don't worry about that. There's only a door handle on the outside, so that once you go in, the door closes and you can't get out. That is the solution they're presenting, and this is the scary part. The Ebola itself, not scary. In my opinion, not scary. I'll be happy if somebody wants to send me a ticket. I'll be happy to go to Sierra Leone, hug these victims that are rolling around on the ground, and have a nice beer with them afterwards when after the shooting, So you look at this thing, you look at the false flag operations. What do they want? They want you to react with emotions. So it needs to be the key thing most of the time is women and children. Women and children, that's how they hit you. And then often surrounding these events are nuns, missionaries, priests, and nurses. These things, because these are the angel people, the good ones that are, oh my God, she was a nurse and she was infected by this awful black man. Do you see what I'm saying? They're playing the black and white game, the good, the bad. And so we have, for instance, the thing in Spain. I mean, it's supposed to have started here. I also love the way they keep transporting people from one place to the other place. That would never happen. Never. They go from one country to the other country just to scare the crap out of that country as well. And then to the next one, next to the next. Then you look at it. You see, I don't know if you've seen when this plane came with this woman to Spain. Did you see that?
No, I'm not aware of that. No.
Okay, this is one of how it happened. The whole thing started. Who was this woman? She was a nurse. Just want to point out what I said before. She was a nurse, just come back from Africa, where she had been an angel among the sick black. Okay, and then she was infected herself. Oh my God, how tragic. We need to get her back home. So did she come in a sort of like super equipped medical ambulance plane type of thing? No, she came in a big, massive plane from the Spanish defense area, a military plane. Okay. So it lands, and then of course when they open, she's met with a whole bunch of people dressed in plastic bags, the whole thing to scare you. And then they get the stairs up and they open the door. Who is opening? 2 pilots. Are they dressed in plastic bags? No, they're not.
No.
Not even a face mask, nothing. It's only Ebola. Who cares? They're dressed in uniforms. So when standard procedure, when it comes to very, very sick people with internal bleedings and so on, is that you must be at least 4 people carrying the stretcher, because if you drop it, it can be lethal to the patient, and also it could make the virus escape, so you should have total quarantine and sealed off area. And if you have to move it, at least 4 people at the stretcher, and never go backwards, because then you can fall over. So what do you see here? 2 people carrying this thing, one of them coming out backwards, not an educated medical staff, Then you have down on the ground level, you have this plastic people in plastic bags all over the place, looking very fearful. And the ambulance arrived, and 2 of them salutes the ambulance. What does that tell you? That they're military people, and apparently there's some high-ranking officer inside the ambulance. What would he be doing there? So they stand and salute this anonymous ambulance. Then they carry it down, and you see when you freeze the images and look inside this sealed-in box, there's their equipment lying. If there is anyone in there at all, I very much doubt so. There's equipment put on top of this person. You would never do that. And then you have one of these bags, with the fluid bags on the outside with a hose going into that one. You would never have anything on the outside, because that makes an entry into that area and an exit for the virus. You would never do that. These are such giveaways. And then they get this poor victim into the ambulance, and they drive off in a caravan. It looks like a presidential caravan, with loads of police cars and 3 ambulances with 1 victim, go figure, and all of these, and goes through the whole media circus, And then you will see this thing with 2 people on a stretcher again and again. If it's in Chicago, they've got aerial footage when they take the person out of the ambulance. You would never do it with 2 people. I mean, we're talking about a lethal virus. It's awful. It's very, very dangerous. You would never handle it like that. And then, remember, back to the emotional reaction, then here in Spain, they said that they'd taken in the dog, the nurse's dog, and now they're talking, I don't know if they have put it down or not, because they thought that it might be infected as well. So there's a whole massive discussion about this poor dog. in a country that doesn't care about dogs. I mean, there's dogs everywhere here, you know, homeless dogs. They don't care about them at all. But that dog, where the normal thing would be, let's check out this dog. Is it infected? Is it possible that the virus can go from a human to an animal? Can it spread from an animal? That would be incredibly important information to find out, you know. But no, let's kill it. Let's kill it and let's get the whole emotional thing going in the press.
Yeah.
And
fantastic observations, really good observations.
Then you have in Sierra Leone, and these TV crews are down there, you know, here there's a victim rolling around in the dirt. What's the color of his t-shirt? Oh, neon green. What is the color of his skin? Dark. Is there anything yellow in the picture? Yes. Okay, he's rolling around. This disease is awful, you know. It's like internal bleedings. There was all blood out in your nose, everything. His skin is perfect. He looks fine. He's rolling around in the dirt because he cannot enter into the hospital. Okay, and they come with these like anti-fungus for plant type of thing to disinfect everything. We're back to the plastic bag people. It's like a breed of their own almost. And they come in and spray everywhere, but very sorry, you cannot come in here. And the parents to this young man who's rolling around are like this. They're like, oh my God, it's such a tragedy that the hospital will not accept us and so on. And then afterwards, the TV crew follows the dad after take one. They follows the dad down the street, you know, getting some comments from him. And so, well, we just have to see if we can find another way of getting our son treated and so on. Check out what is in his right hand, the dad's father's right hand, while he walks down the street while being filmed. A stack of notes, money. He's just been paid off for take one, you know. Be this concerning dad. I'm sure he didn't even know the guy rolling around in the dirt. And now he's walking home with the money to his family, you know. And every single time when you look about footage or images about Ebola, even the slides about the virus, yellow background or green background, the neon green and the virus yellow. You would never see that in a microscope. It's always transparent, you know. So they're playing our brains. So whatever you do, you who are listening, please stay away from the needles. The needles are the danger. That is where the danger is.
Okay, we will pause it right there and take a quick break. Please stay with us as we will return shortly for more of this most intriguing and informative conversation. We are submersed in a construct that was designed to break us and keep us broken, but it hasn't. It failed. We still go on because we were designed from an eternal template of infinite creativity and not a synthetic house of cards built on pride and false power. Breaking free from the programs and paradigms that hold us down takes courage, endurance, tenacity, and trust. The reason it is so hard is because to be a free and sovereign being, we have to smash every lie, even if it hurts. It is good to be reminded of how resilient, unbreakable, magnificent, and powerful we truly are. And if anything provides a foundation for that, it is the book, Our Universal Journey. Go to ouruniversaljourney.com.au. The views and opinions expressed by guests on Superwoo Radio are not necessarily the views and opinions held by me, the host, George Cavassalis, and Superwoo Radio. In today's world, it is crucial to exercise discernment, but it is also just as important to seek common ground and share in the perspectives that unite us. Music for this episode is brought to you by Runestone. The album, Secrets of Avalon, and is available through MG Music at medwingoodall.net. Some fantastic observations that you've made. That when I listened to you analyse the supposed beheading of that young military man, I was absolutely amazed at the detail you went into. It's fantastic work that you do, Ole. Really, really enjoy your professional approach and the depth of the research that you go into. Very, very impressive work, mate.
Thank you. It's just the details are needed to show it to people, because otherwise...
The old saying, the devil's in the detail, eh?
I would say God is in the detail. The truth is in the details, It's also, they say, I'm going to play the devil's advocate. Do you really think the devil needs an advocate? I mean, give it a break. It's so easy to be negative. So drop this being the devil's advocate, whoever is playing that game, and then start trying and see what's actually going on, and then work for a solution for a better future, instead of just criticizing people who are really doing their best.
Yeah, that's right. No, we've got other solutions as well. That's for sure. So, where do you see this heading after the Ebola virus? Do you see another boogeyman on the horizon? Are there any, nudgings or clues as to where they will take it next?
I tell you, they are. I think they're desperate. I would be very happy as well to see them desperate, because it's like they have recorded a similarity to Rocky 1, 2, 3. I know now I'm talking about false flags, all these mass shootings. They've done Rambo 1, 2, 3, or Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. They can't keep it up. People don't buy it, because it's just getting to a level. That's why even Rocky stopped after Rocky 7 or something like that, because people are, you can't pull the same story off again and again and again. And here they are getting freaked out, What are we going to do? We can't even scare little kids with Al-Qaeda anymore. Al-Qaeda is, by the way, the name of CIA's own database of agents that they have trained. It's an absolute hoax. So what are we going to do? Are we going to call in Jim Carrey to create a new character like the Iceman? Or how are we going to freak people out? ISIS. Let's call them ISIS. That's a good one. That will there will be, because people know that they've heard the name somewhere, some kind of Egyptian mythology. I think it was the god of death. Oh my God, that's scary. Or was it really the Israeli Security Intelligence
Service? Israeli Security Intelligence Service, that's correct.
Or what is it? You look into this, and it's like they come from absolute nowhere. I love it. No one has heard of them. No one, and suddenly they're the most feared force of terror in the world. Du, 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 du. And in come ISIS, and what are they? You look at them, it's like, oh, these beheadings as well. I love it. You got a guy on his knees, you check with it, you do some facial structure comparison with the person they claim it is. They don't even look alike. You check the background. It's in a sandy, some kind of sand, what do you call it, dump where you get sand. It's supposed to look like it's in a
quarry,
desert.
like it's in a quarry or something.
Yeah. And then a blue sky behind it. So there's absolutely no way you can track it down, with the geographic things. Then you get the body structure of this Ninja Turtle who's standing next to him. The boogeyman, all dressed in black. Total white man body structure, He's supposed to be an Arab or this whole, his whole body is like a well-fit military guy. And the accent, I mean, come on, at least practice, Very, very sloppy job. And then chop, chop, head, oh my God, scare the whole world. So ISIS, you check out who ISIS is. And then I can't remember the name of the first leader they had. It was something like Sarkozy or something like that. Sarkozy or something like that. You check him out. Okay, he's an incredible guy, I tell you. Because in 2005, he was killed. Okay? Then in 2006, he was arrested. 2006, he was killed again. Then 2007, he escaped from prison. Oh my God, it's unreal. And in 2009, he was killed again. That's quite a CV, I tell you. Then they took over from him, because he was dead apparently. So the next one that went into command, his name was, when they try to freak you out just with one person that you don't have to remember, they will give you, his name was Abdul Karim Karumkara Isquardo Maskila. But you cannot tell your neighbor that this, I have no idea what his name was, something well, beep, 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 beep. It doesn't work. That's not how you can freak people out, to get them to spread it. So they need to get words that will work, or names that will work. That's why they go for ISIS. Everybody will remember that. Or this one, the next one. What are we going to call him? What are we going to call him? Something that people will remember. Baghdad. People know about Baghdad. They heard that we bombed the crap out of that city a long time ago. So Baghdadi, let's call him Baghdadi. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Baghdadi we got two different Baghdadis. They don't even look alike. Two, and they have similar CVs like dead, alive, shot, dead, blown up, dead, alive, escaped, and dead. And then comes Baghdad 2. And he is supposed to be dead now. I'm just waiting to see what he's going to do tomorrow. Do you see? It's like so sloppily made that if you just look into it, but we're so asleep that nobody takes the time to even check these things. Yeah. It's just so badly done, which is a sign of them getting desperate, I would say.
Yeah, and with the name ISIS too, I thought that was really clever the way they chose that name, because if you look at what they cleverly do with certain words and words association, if you look at Hitler, you've got Hail Hitler, like Hail Caesar. Mm. The original Hail actually represents something magnificent. It means HAIL stands for honesty, authenticity, integrity, and love. So when you greet someone, you say, if I say Hail Ole, that is one of the greatest honourable greetings I could ever give you.
And Hitler's real name was Schicklgruber. Hitler was his mother's name. But can you imagine Heil Schicklgruber? It's back to the marketing agency. How are we going to make this work? And
that's correct.
He had Albert Speer, who was an incredible propaganda manager and also architect, that designed the whole thing. So, can't have something Heil Schicklgruber. Don't work. It won't work.
It won't work.
Change your name.
But it's also how they manage to take something that's good And then in the psychology, they turn it into something evil. If you take the swastika, for example, was a wonderful Buddhist symbol, and it was the symbol of the spirit of the sun, and it stood for something magnificent. And now, if I was to walk around with a swastika print on my T-shirt, everyone would think I was a neo-Nazi. And
Do you know what they've done in Sweden? They've done that. The Swedish flag has become a symbol of the neo-Nazis, so that many people for many years were quite afraid of hailing the flag because they were afraid of being looked upon as neo-Nazis. I mean, pull that one off. That is quite incredible how they did that. But can you see how they destroy exactly like they use these symbols? And this is also how they infiltrate the truth movement, and they use these things against us. You don't, just after the JFK assassination, when critics started popping up saying, "Oh my God, but what you're telling is just not true," that is when they came up with the phrase conspiracy theorist.
Theory. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was moving to next. Yeah.
Because it's not, the conspiracy is one thing, but as soon as you add the word theory, there's a doubt, you know?
Yep.
And this is what they want. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy factist, if there's such a word. I only look for facts. I'm not interested in theories. But as soon as there's a theory, you get the tinfoil hat, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly right. Wow.
It's done by design.
Yeah, they're very clever. I mean, these people are strategists of an incredible elite level. I mean, if you look at your most... Sorry?
No, I totally disagree with you. They are very sloppy amateur group of a small minority. I would like to rephrase that.
Fair enough. Yep, I'm with you on that. Yeah, thank you for correcting me.
If they had been really good, I would have been I wouldn't have been able to see these things. I would have bought it. I would have been asleep, you know, if they had been good at it. But they're so sloppy and so bad because they don't feel that we deserve respect. And I totally agree with them, because how can we buy into this again and again and again and again and again, and then, you know, say, please respect me? I can understand why they look down on us as being totally brain dead, you know.
You know, it'd be really great if you could graph it out in a timeline sequence, and you could, in like a picture form or diagrammatic form, you could represent the different cycles and all the boogeymen over the last few decades and how they keep repeating themselves over and over again. It would make it a lot easier for people to comprehend.
Yeah, you're the second radio host that I've suggested that. I was on Alfred Lavimont Weber show the other night, and he said exactly the same. If just to make it in a graphic form, you know. Yeah. It's like, well, thank God I have nothing to do. I'm just sitting around picking my nose all day long, so I have plenty of time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, the thing is, I'm just an ordinary guy. I have no benefit of doing this, you know. I have no personal interest except for wanting to create a beautiful future for all of us, you know. So and I just want to say, if anybody wants to support me, please do. Many people come up to me and say, but what can I do? I'm just an ordinary guy. I don't know what to do, and I don't have the time to sit around, you know, checking these things out. I would say support people like George, myself, and so many other researchers that are putting themselves on the line. I mean, we are actually risking our lives sometimes, I tell you. It's because this is a minefield. We're walking around in a minefield, and you only know if you stepped on a mine when it's too late, you know. So it's a scary, scary business at times. So let your money talk, you know. And because we're, as far as I know, all of the people I know in this area who are doing so much voluntary work are on our knees financially, you know. So on my website, lightonconspiracies.com, you can buy my books, Coup d'etat in Slow Motion or Shadow of Tears, Remind Me. I got
Well,
several
that's the
books.
whole point. People get something in return. It's an exchange. And
It,
what you have to offer is an incredible depths of research. It's wonderful that you said that. And I do urge people to support you. I mean, there's not that many people that can really explain the geopolitical situation. Well, shall I say, in a conspiratorial arena, the way that you can, because of the level of depth that you go into explaining things.
It's also, I got a newsletter, I got a membership area. It's like because I don't really have an income from anything else at the moment because I totally devoted myself to this. So please, if you want me to continue, take a step forward. I mean, even amounts that you think won't really matter, it matters to somebody like myself. So anyway, back on track. What would you like to talk about now?
What projects have you got coming up next? Is there anything that's piqued your interest that you're going to be looking into? Because what direction do you feel the conspiratorial arena is heading to next? Well, hold off. Let me hold off on that. Hold off answering that. I've got another question for you. Okay. What I have found is that the conspiratorial arena, okay, has been infiltrated. Itself has been infiltrated, and that when we look at television and we look at the circus of the media taking place in the commercial media, in mainstream media, and all the different dramas that have been created in mainstream media, I have come to realise and notice from not only from viewing afar, but also from having been, I would say, personally harassed from members within that conspiratorial arena, that because they tried dragging me into it and I won't play ball, and that it has been infiltrated, and there are people who are so-called whistleblowers and what have you that are actually plants, and there is disinformation being disseminated. So, where have you had such experiences yourself, and is it something that people need to be aware of?
I would say big time. Yes, and yes to all your questions. And this is extremely important to be aware of. I mean, at this point in my life, I'm personally involved with former assassins, whistleblowers, CIA people, you name it. It's like unreal in one aspect. And I have no idea. Can I trust these people? Can I not? Are they just taking me for a ride? Are they not? This thing that is being spread on the internet, there's so much being spread that is true, and so much being spread to stop the truth getting out there. And the most dangerous one is the one where there's some truth and some lies, that is done by design. They open the door with the truth and then they leak in the lies, and this is what really messes it up. And once again, they do it's by design, very on purpose, They talk about intelligence work and counterintelligence. I would say madness and counter madness. They like calling themselves intelligent, but I wouldn't call it. But what they do is they mess it up. And they go into groups to divert them, to splinter them up. It's an old Roman tactic once again, what is it? Conquer by diversion, not diversion. But they want to.
A reason, because I've heard a lot of people talk about a lot of things, and I've been to a lot of places and had a lot of experiences, and as hard it is for some people to believe, I have been to the moon and I have been to Mars and all that sort of stuff, and I'm not saying that to make myself sound like I'm the big hero in all of this. Far from it. There's some very, very difficult challenges in my life that come with all these experiences. But when I hear so-called whistleblowers coming out and talking about concrete structures on the moon, that really concerns me, because there are no concrete structures on the moon because of the atmospheric conditions and the energetic conditions that take place on the moon. Concrete is an earthbound element, and the way it binds and the way it expands and the way it aerates within itself can only happen in the atmosphere of the Earth. It cannot happen in other places. So, there's little things like that that are of great concern for me.
Do you know, one of the parts in this design is controlled opposition. They create the opposition as well. And I'm very sorry to say, if you look at a person like Noam Chomsky, who I used to respect highly, it's incredible information that he has put out there over the years.
Absolutely.
And then when people ask him about 9/11, he would be the one that should say, yes, my God, look into it. Let's really dig into it, because that is one prime example of how this whole thing is pulled off. What does he say? I heard him say it several times. Why do you bother? I mean, it's history. Just leave it. What does that tell you about him? It tells you that he is part of the controlled opposition,
Exactly.
And that, I'm very sorry, but take everything he says with a pinch of salt. You need to be very aware of that. Some of the things he's saying will be true and some of it will not. Very sad to see these things. You got another one, the author Anthony Summers, who I think has written incredible books about JFK, Marilyn Monroe, J. Edgar Hoover, and so on. Incredible books. Comes to 9/11. Suddenly, when it really matters, when it's not 30 years down the line, no, we have come to the conclusion there's no conspiracy behind it. I mean, you need to be absolutely empty in the head not to see that there's a conspiracy there.
It's insane. And honestly, it's like saying that we're all alone in the universe. I say to people, you want to call me crazy for saying that there's extraterrestrials that exist. You have to be totally insane to think that we are all alone in this universe. The night sky is self-explanatory. Self-explanatory. The moment your eyes see the night sky, right, there is your answer whether we are alone or not. It's self-explanatory. If you can't deduce with your own level of rationale, your own level of reasoning, your own level of understanding of the basic concepts of life, of let alone the law of averages, right? How can you look at the night sky and still think we're all alone in this universe? It's insane. So when you have people that are looking at these two massive, massive buildings, and right before their eyes, the buildings are turning into dust in mid-air, massive steel girders turning into dust in mid-air. And you look at the pile of rubble that was left after those towers disintegrated into dust. They didn't collapse, right? Then there would have been a massive, there would have been at least a 50-story high mountain of steel and concrete if they actually literally just collapsed. That's how big the stack would have been, around 50 stories high. And so why, with people who consider themselves somewhat, some level of intellect, and intelligence, the average person, and they look at what they're seeing, but then there's some sort of narrative that accompanies the images that they're viewing, and they are giving the narrative the actual full weight of the imprint in their mind rather than what their eyes are actually seeing.
Do you know the Pentagon? You got this massive plane. I mean, it is absolutely massive, the plane. They say that managed to do this absolutely impossible turnaround and then slammer right into the side of Pentagon. For one thing, you have this, it is I would say, the world's most protected building ever.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I cannot imagine how many cameras, security cameras, they would have on
yeah.
that building. All of them
Imagine.
turned off. But then this plane just disappears into a hole the size of a missile. You know,
16
like
foot, 16 feet in
very,
diameter.
very small.
Yeah,
Two major engines of titanium and other heavy or metals that are so incredibly difficult to melt on if you don't go up to thousands and thousands of degrees of heat, you know. And what the official version to this very day is that the plane vaporized. It vaporized. The engines vaporized. That is like saying to your insurance company, I reversed into the wall and the car vaporized. Please reimburse me.
Yeah.
Would you get the money from the insurance company? I'm asking you, would you? No, they would say, get out of here. I mean, stop drinking and become sane. That is what the insurance company would say. But here, just because we keep being bombarded with the same thing again and again and again, we think, oh my God, it must have been a terrorist. And I'm sure he was Muslim as well. It's like, oh God, come on.
Yeah, it's fascinating the way this is going. But you know, the level of mind control, though, for people like us is becoming very, very obvious, though. Okay. Now, why do you think it's still having an effect on the general masses? What's the difference between their mind structures and our mind structures?
I don't know. But I think there's an incredible awakening going on at the moment. Absolutely amazing. I used to be so alone in the 80s and 90s, you know. It was a very, very scary and frightening road to go on your own before the internet and so on. And people were just looking at me saying, oh God, can this guy shut up? You know, it's just like, I don't want to hear, I don't want to. But now I'm being welcomed everywhere. You know, I get from all over the world. I get the emails and people waking up, you know, and also what I'm so happy about is that I come from a point of love. I'm not here to spread fear or anger or revenge or hatred or anything like that. I come from a point where I just wanted to stop, you know, stop the madness and let's heal this world with love. And the approach that I come from, I think resonates in other people's hearts. And that's why they welcome the words that I offer, you know, instead of me getting into conflict, because I'm not here to get into discussions. I'm not interested in discussions. I'm here to, whoever wants to take part of what I've spent so many years gathering, I'm so happy to spread it and share it, you know. So I think it's an absolute wonderful time to be alive, and especially since this group who is messing us up is so small. They're only a few thousand, and we are in the billions. So really, we should not even have discussions or talks like this. You know, it should be way, way back that we even had programs talking about these things.
So where do you feel, getting back to that question we put aside for a little while, where do you think we're going to go next after the Ebola? Because it'd be like me asking you the question when AIDS was out, or when, you know, we got our different boogeyman. So if you're seeing like a trend, you know, can you kind of, I'm not asking you to actually 100% predict what's going to be next. I'm not asking you to do that.
No.
But can you see kind of a trend and where this is sort of looking like it, you know, there's a possibility of it heading in next?
Do you know, like with all these computer games, they have numbed people down so the kids can see people being slaughtered with chainsaws and, you know, zombies being blown their heads out. People don't even react anymore. So they're falling on their own tricks, if you understand what I'm saying, because now they're still trying to scare us, but how are they going to scare us? Because we're so numb to all this violence. So okay, now they started chopping the heads off because they thought that will work. But I tell you, it doesn't really. People are not shocked the way they used to be. So what would the next one be? Are they going to go for the genitals? Well, that will work maybe for a tiny little, or with children, women, that's, the next step, maybe that they will, oh, this young woman, let's chop her head up. That will freak people out for a little while, even though it's a setup. So what would be the next one? Let's saw the top of his head and eat his brain. It's on that level that how are they going to scare us? Because we've been so numbed down. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, I just heard that some of the people in ISIS have offered to swallow the Ebola and go to this Western world that don't believe in Allah and spread the disease. I mean, are they hiring Monty Python to do these scripts, or what is it? It's like Monty Python came up with these things 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It's just on a level that is unreal. And this just shows you they're freaking out because they're running out of options. The fear thing doesn't work anymore. At least not if I have a say in the whole thing. So you're asking me where we're going? I would say, have you seen these experiments where they put a loudspeaker on the ground and then put a piece of cardboard on top, then spread some sand on it and put a frequency through the loudspeaker, a low one.
Yes.
And the sand will shake. Then you start raising the signal, the frequency. You raise the frequency. What's happened? First, the sand is more or less not moving, and then it starts vibrating very violently, and then suddenly it just goes whoop into a beautiful pattern.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Then you keep raising the frequency, and at first it stays sort of status quo. Then it starts shaking. Then it starts shaking very violently, and whoop, it goes into the next very different but beautiful pattern. And I think this is exactly what is happening when you raise the consciousness as well. That 2012 we were really shaking. 2013 it started going into the next level, and very shortly, and if I'm right, we will just click into the next level of consciousness. That would be absolutely beautiful, in my opinion. I think absolutely beautiful, where this group will just say, okay, we quit. We can't keep on anymore. They will just eliminate themselves, and we will go into the next level where, I hope that duality will stop, and that we would see each other as brothers and sisters, and united, that we're in this beautiful thing all together. And then with the intention, how can we help us to create the next level? Because instead of just focusing on all of these problems, we also need to focus on what are we going to do if let's say that this elite, so-called elite, stops, that they go away. So we don't have all these scares, we don't have all these wars, we don't have all these terror attacks or Ebola or all this kind of crap, but we are here together. How are we gonna create a beautiful future to us? I mean, most people can't even agree on what type of pizza to order, if it's the same. So how are we gonna do it? Focus on these things. See, what can you, just like Kennedy said, don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. And I would say your world. What can you contribute with? How can you spread peace and compassion and beautiful things around you? What can you do? Look around yourself. The life is giving you all these opportunities. If you look out the window and try and see by all of these dead heaps of dead people, push them to the side because they're not going to be there anyway, and just look at the world around you, in your neighborhood, in wherever it is. What can you do to lift this? Is there anyone out there that needs help? Any neighbor that maybe you can make a major difference to by small means? Instead of having marathon races, runs, that's great, but totally meaningless if you think of it. Why don't you do, like, in your neighborhood, if it's a rundown neighborhood or something like that, put up tons of bins and let's say make a race. who can fill 20 bins the quickest, and everybody runs in all different directions, picking up garbage and run back and empty it in the garbage can and run out and get some more, run back and make it with a purpose. Instead of going to all of these gyms, go out and do good. See how can we rebuild this. I can carry bricks instead of lifting weights for no effort. I can lift bricks, I can help you, I can do this, I can do that. Do good, be good, live as an example. Do drive-by huggings, go hug a neighbor, hug a tree, hug a cup, especially the ones that you fear. Go spread love. And I'm not talking about love as a wimpy type of thing. I'm talking about the highest of frequencies. That is the one that is labeled love. And that is the one that will create miracles. And that is also the one that this so-called elite fears that we will get in touch with, because they need us on a very low level where they can control us. That's why they're trying to scare us all the time.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's so wonderfully expressed there, Ole. And it gets to the point too when they want to, I suppose, insert nanotechnologies and implants in our bodies and all of that down the track. Oh, they've already started anyway. And I share with my audience and anybody who's listening to this that we do actually literally have the capacity to outdo any piece of technology that exists. We just need to know that we have that. So that power, that strength, and that ability within ourselves, we literally do have that. So I don't want people to get caught up into the drama vortexes of a lot of the fear that is surrounding vaccines and FEMA camps and what have you. There's definitely, I feel that this layer 2 that's going to come in with artificial intelligence is going to really deal to task. It's going to be sold as something wonderful to the planet. I don't think it's all going to be FEMA camps and pain and suffering. There will be a short time of that on the planet, but eventually it's got to be sold as something that's beneficial to the human race, and peace has to come through that whole process. Otherwise, people aren't going to accept it long term. How do you feel about that kind of thing?
I think everything that is called smart, if it comes from smartphones, smart TV, smart meters, whatever, stay away from these things. It's they're pushing it with beautiful labels, all the same with all these war efforts and so on. It's Operation Desert Storm or Operation Stardust, all of these things. Don't buy into these. And I totally agree with you. When it comes to fear, they try to control us through fear. Fear is not real. It's very important to become aware of that. Danger is real. Fear is not. Fear is only in your mind, and it has always to do with something in the future that has not happened yet. So you, in all situations, every single minute of your life, you have the option of staying in love or in fear. I would strongly suggest in as many where you have this option, the more you choose the option love and peace and understanding, compassion, these things, your life will transform. Do not buy into, be aware of these fear factors like FEMA camps, all of these things, so that you know how to make proper choices when you are confronted with them, with these things. Should I go to the FEMA camp? I suggest not. Should I take the vaccine? I suggest not. Should I empower my immune system? I suggest yes. Should I go back to nature? I suggest yes. Should I choose peace? I suggest yes. Should I choose violence? I suggest no. You know, if you ask your heart, you will know inside your heart the right choices to make. Don't give
Yeah,
it
and
to.
in your mind to know that what they need to do is to disempower you, so you feel like there's no other solutions. You feel like you're helpless and hopeless, and they are the ones with all the power and all the answers, and they create this aura of dependency, don't they? So you are completely dependent upon their solutions for every problem in your life, and you become so disempowered. And Ole is sharing some beautiful wisdom, to go back to nature and to really start believing in your own assessment, your own judgment of the situations. It's a beautiful thing.
And also, when it comes to society, look how some friend of mine suggested the other day that if you have society, you can spot the weaknesses very easy just by turning off the electricity. If you turn that off, you will see what doesn't work and what
Mm,
works without it. You
exactly.
know, and if you turn it off, you will see, okay, if you just go back in time, how did they do it? How did they have a world that really worked, with small villages? I'm not an expert in these areas, but I see back in history and I see, well, that worked pretty good, you know, and where there were lots of handicraft, where you were self-sufficient, where food and water, everything was close by, and where people were helping each other in the neighborhood, where you were no gates, no locked gates, no locked doors, no, everybody was just helping each other, to get along, to create a good life, and to be friends and so on. Look at that and see, what can I do to create something similar? How can I change my neighborhood, my garden, instead of a garden that is just there for doing no good at all? Start growing veggies, or start doing something that can create joy out there, because joy and love is the thing that lifts people, give them hope. I sometimes suggest, like when you're in a restaurant, if you have a dollar or two to spare, pay for someone you don't know without them knowing it. When you leave, just give the waitress and say, what's this guy's coffee over in the corner? Well, $1.25. Okay, pay that and then just leave. Or, because things like that, when the guy comes over, very often life does this beautiful thing that the one that you have picked out is in some kind of despair at that time. And if something like that happens and this person is down and just feel like, oh my God, I'm all on my own, he comes up, he can hardly afford to pay the coffee, and they say, no, the guy who just left paid it for you. That can be a thing that just turns his whole life around. Or you go down the pay road, you pay for the car that will come after you, or there's so many different ways of doing things that really empower, and especially the ones you do without expecting anything in return. That is why I love doing it I can't even say it, anonymously, so that the other person don't feel a guilt or having to give back or pay back. Just do it anonymously and make people start believing in miracles. And
Yeah, unconditionally. Yeah.
I would also say, since the police and the soldiers, the army and so on, are the ones that the so-called elite are using to control the rest of us, I would say they have very much infiltrated these groups and added a lot of so-called bad eggs in their ranks and so on, a lot of corruption, all of these things. If you see a police officer that is really doing his duty to protect you, to take care of you in his little jurisdiction, and you see this guy is really doing what he's supposed to do, honor him, go there, show that this is the way to go, show his colleagues that, oh my God, what's happening over there? All of these people are like really into this guy, what's going on? That is a way of inspiring people, other people in uniform, that you can get out of this corruption thing as well. You can start doing the thing that you're supposed to do. Stand up, be honorable, start living with honor and power. Empower them. help empowering them, understanding that what they're doing is good, because many of these police officers, I'm sure, are devastated of the level of corruption and devastated of being in that area of society where they are being pumped with all this information, fear information about the rest of you. I have people who were, I have a friend who used to be a riot police and so on. They were so fearful of the masses, and so pumped up with adrenaline. They were just knocking in skulls. They didn't care why these demonstrations was taking place. It didn't matter at all. They were just there to kick butt and without any brain involved.
Mm.
So I would say, instead of just pointing out the bad things that the police do, empower the ones that really are good, and then that will spread good in whatever area.
Exactly right. So beautifully said. And I think one of the most powerful things that you have mentioned to me in this discussion, one of the many, was the differentiation between fear and danger.
It is a massive thing, because we think they're the same.
They're not.
You think that just because you fear something that it's real. It is not. The danger can be there, but it's up to you. Do I want to step into this fire? Yes or no? You can take a very rational decision, especially if you're not fearful. Yes, I can step into it. It would burn really badly. So I decide not to. But if you're fearful, you're sort of like, you're totally scattered, and you can do stupid things like that, trying to run through it or something. So the danger can be real, but the fear is only in your mind, and in your mind is where you can control it. This is where you can control it.
And that's where that is it an acronym? Where fear represents false evidence appearing real. Is that the right terminology, an acronym?
I don't know. I didn't understand what you were saying now.
Yeah. Well, fear, FEAR, are the letters for the words false evidence appearing real.
Yeah, that's a very good description of it. And it's just your mind freaking you out. It's just your mind playing games with you, because your mind is also trying to keep you safe by saying, back off, that's dangerous, that dangerous. Whatever it is, it will try to keep you in your so-called comfort zone. Whatever you're used to, and that the so-called ego knows that you will survive, it will try and keep you there. But the beautiful thing, then it can be like, well, singing karaoke is a deadly danger. I mean, that can freak most people out that don't like singing. That will, your mind will say, if you stand up and sing there, you will die. But I tell you, if you get freaked out like that and you still stand up and sing, what will happen? The whole comfort zone, not only in the area of karaoke, will just expand, so that you will feel more comfortable, maybe walking around without your shirt off on the beach or something. Do you know, like, and in all these areas where you've been feeling limited, then that will expand as well. But this is an ongoing thing with your own ego. You have to all the time stretch it, because if you relax, it will just pull the comfort zone back into the shape it was before.
Wow, that's so true. Yeah, I call it our ecosystem and our environment will just reprogram us back into the way we were before. So when we go through that inner change, we then have to realize that there's going to be a change in our outer world as well. And, you're about to experience that. You're relocating. Same with me. And we've gone through these internal changes. So now our outer world's changing, because it's got to reflect what's happening with our inner world. Yeah. So, yeah, amazing. Well done. I feel like we've reached a conclusion in this wonderful conversation here today. Ole, can you please share your details with people, because there is just a plethora of knowledge and information, and again, the level of research you go into and the topics that you cover are just fantastic. So where can they go to get more information and look more into your work?
Well, most of my books have not been published. I wonder why. I've tried for many years, but they just get stopped. My website is lightonconspiracies.com, a very handpicked name, Light on Conspiracies, because this is what I believe in, totally non-violent way of stopping this by totally fearlessly focusing the light straight at them, saying, we see you, and it's time for you to stop. We're not buying it anymore. This is not on anymore. So it's lightonconspiracies.com, and my books is Coup d'etat in Slow Motion. It's about the assassination of the Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme, but it gets connected to so many other stuff, including the Freemasonry networks, the Iran-Contras, the JFK assassination, you name it, pedophile gangs, all of these things. I've written another book called Shadow of Tears. It's about when in '84 I took an old bicycle, and went on my own from Sweden towards South Africa. But I ended up in the middle of the war in Iran, Iraq.
That's
instead.
right. You turned left instead of turning right or something
I
like that.
couldn't read the signs. So I went into this country, Iran, fearing that it was the home of many crazy terrorists and just running around shooting each other, screaming Allah. But instead I found some absolutely beautiful people in such a difficult situation. And it just totally changed my whole life. One of my new friends down there was murdered, and then I risked everything. I smuggled his brother up through Soviet Union and East Germany up to Sweden, where he's now a heart specialist, and we got 7 other people out there as well. So that's a true story about that, Shadow of Tears. And if anybody has contacts in Hollywood, please, or any big film thing, please contact me, because I've been trying for years to get this made into a major motion picture, because the message in this book, I think what happened to around this whole thing is so much bigger than just us who was in it. And then I've written another book called Remind Me. It's about how you can remind your mind, reset your mind. It's just a small little power book, but it's helped a lot of people already. I'm very happy to say that. I've also written a children's book called Yolanda Yogapanda. It's based on the old yogic philosophies and so on.
Wonderful. And, what a great mix of work. And what I want to share with people is, I understand that, some of our listeners will probably think, well, that's not, you're not into the conspiracy thing and all that sort of business. And I understand that. However, I recommend that you look at your friends and your family, and because their awareness is not on the level of your awareness. And so everybody's got family members that, you'd love to awaken, but if you share the level of information, let's say that I share, it's just too much for them. It's just way too much for them. But when it comes to a geopolitical conspiracy, that they can relate to. And this is where Ole's work is just so magical, because he explains things so meticulously. It all makes sense. It's all very logical and rational and reasonable and perfectly understandable. So, if you got the father-in-law, or you got the, the brother or the sister or the father or whoever, and the mother, or just a work colleague or something like that, Christmas is coming up. Buy them a copy of one of Ole's books for a wonderful exchange. You're supporting Ole to continue this great work, and also you're helping to expand the awareness of somebody that's close to you that that can relate to something that like this sort of work. So take that into consideration.
I would also very much advise people to the fact that when you wake up, for most people, it's a very painful awakening, because you have to let go of a lot of the things that you've been taught in your life, a lot of the things that you have thought were the right thing to do, or that history was telling you the right version, and so on. So most people go through the stages, almost like when you lose someone you really love. First, you have total denial. then incredible pain and shock and depression and anger and all of these things. It goes through different levels. And so when you wake up, most people I've seen when you wake up to and become aware of these conspiracies and so on and what's actually going on in the world, you have a tendency, or I include myself as well, to start pumping down this very, very negative, dark information and try to push it down other people's throat. You want to wake everybody around you up at the same time. And you will see, check out the reactions of people. You know exactly from what energy you're coming, because you will see their faces just going pale and like, oh my God, what's that? Shut him up, please shut him up. You know that. So if you see those reactions, rethink the way you do it. And I would very much focus on the person that looks back to you in the mirror. That's the one you can change. Show people or show yourself that you are one of these people that can carry these things on your shoulders, still being positive, still being strong, still being brave, because people don't need people looking totally depressed and pale and scared, scared, totally shitless, out of fear for all of these things coming and doomsday theories, from all kind of direction. We are in a challenging time, yes. If I compare to anyone I know more about these dark things than anyone else I know. I should be the one hanging from a string or a rope in the ceiling, but I'm not. I am super positive, super focused, and I just see that we have a hurdle here. It's not the final one, because life will still serve us new ones, but a major hurdle that we just need to morph around. We need to transcend it, not fight our way through it, transcend it. And so,
which means ending the trance of it.
Ending the trance. And also I don't want to say do a revolution either, because listen to the words, if we are into words, revolution, it just repeats itself. And you will see in history, the ones that makes a revolution a few years down the line, they are even worse than the one they took over from.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of re-evolution or evolution, just transcend it by raising your energy. I say, because the more you can raise your own energy, the more beautiful results you will get out of it around you. You will see the changes in your surroundings. And the best way of to get your energy up there is to fill your heart with gratitude, I think. You have to feel it. You have to feel it.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, feel the gratitude, because that is the one that will empower you and lift you to a level where this dark group cannot get to you. They're trying to get to you, but if you're in that level, they cannot reach you. So you are doing an incredible work just by feeling better. That's the thing. The happier, the more joyful you are, the more aware you are, the more powerful you are. So it's an all-win solution for you, and it will be so much easier for people around you to then say, "My God, you changed. You look so good. You look so inspiring. How are you doing it?" That's when they open the door from the inside, and you can start offering information of this type of thing, and it will be welcomed. If you stand knocking, trying to kick in somebody's door, they will put up a defense, and you will not reach any good results. So stay in love.
So beautifully said. Nothing more needs to be said there. I'm not going to add any more. That is just beautiful wisdom to wind up this amazing discussion, or shall I say conversation. Ole, I want to thank you for coming on to Superwoo Radio. You really are incredible at informing us of what's happening in this conspiratorial arena. There are real conspiracies in this world, and you have this amazing ability to navigate your way through this landscape and hold on to that integrity that makes you the man that you are. And I really appreciate that. I have a great deal of respect for who you are and what you do, and I hope people can understand that and see that in you as well. So well done, brother.
Thank you so much, George. And like I said to you once before, it takes one to know one.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, so here's a couple of lads. You know, we're a couple of guys here that we understand so much of what's going on in this negative world, but here we are holding our integrity, our centre, our love, and we are we are part of the creation of the new love and the new life in this universe, despite of the appearances of all this doom and gloom, of this pending, appearances of pending doom and gloom in this world. So stay true to your hearts, and I know that this has been another enlightening and empowering conversation here on Superwoo Radio. Thank you to you, the listener, for being a part of Superwoo Radio, for supporting and wanting to continue Superwoo Radio to be a part of your life. I truly am honoured that I'm able to do so, and with all of us together, working together, we can and we will and we are birthing this new life in this universe. So until next time, you take care, you be well, and shine your magnificent and brilliant light into this world. It is so greatly needed. Thank you. See you all next time. Goodbye.
Hallelujah, baby.